All right, it's time to skol with the enemy playoff style with Anthony from Fireside Giants. Boom. All right, welcome back to the show. I'm Onebar with Lupagus, with Anthony. If he looks familiar, damn right he should. We just had him on when we absolutely smoked the Giants a couple weeks ago by one, maybe a couple points. But Anthony, welcome back to the show, man. Happy playoffs.
Yeah. Yes, happy playoffs. Thanks for having me on. Super excited for this matchup. Of course, it was really thrilling the last time around. 3-point loss for the Giants. Never quite seen anything like that. I mean, maybe I have as a Giants fan. It's happened a few times that we've lost on 60-plus yard field goals, but hopefully that doesn't happen again this weekend. Hoping that the Giants go out there, put their best foot forward, and somehow pull off an improbable victory.
Wow. All right. Let's do this. Let's get right into this, man. So first off, I got to ask you, since the Vikings beat you guys, has Greg Joseph been haunting your dreams with that 61 beautiful yard field goal?
Yeah, a little bit. I've woken up in a cold sweat maybe 2-3 times since then. Just reimagining that field goal from 61 yards out, ruining my Christmas Eve.
Yeah, fair. We got a hell of a gift. You got a lump of coal in your stocking.
Exactly.
So it's safe to say most Vikings fans wanted the Giants, figured it was the best matchup, but we got to think the feeling was probably mutual for the Giants, right?
Yeah, it definitely was. We were looking at it, and it was either Minnesota or San Francisco, and we'd much rather go up against Minnesota. It's more about facing the enemy that you do know rather than facing the enemy that you don't know. We've faced the Vikings before, and it was a close game. It's a game that most Giants fans feel we should have won, and we definitely could have won if we had a couple players who are injured in the lineup. But going up against the Vikings would be a whole different beast. We haven't played them so far this season. They're red hot. Kyle Shanahan's an excellent head coach. And so, yeah, it was really just familiarity. We're familiar with this team, and we feel like we have a chance to, go out there and secure the dub.
Yeah, I was checking out some of your most recent episodes on Fireside Giants. Hit up the links down in the description. And I won't say you guys are like cocky by any means, but confidence, I think, is pretty high going into this game as far as playing the Vikings.
Yeah, I'd say it's rather high, the confidence. Now, would I be bold enough to go out there and say that the Giants are winning this weekend? Probably not. I know that we're the underdogs, and we are the underdogs for a reason. Again, the Giants really weren't expected to be in this position at all. Going into the year, we thought that 5-6 wins maybe. So we've really overachieved and exceeded all expectations. But the Giants are also playing really good football lately. Like, they are high, and they did kind of just compete against the Eagles. They lost by 6 on Sunday, but they were playing all their third stringers. So the Giants are playing good football right now, and we're really confident in Brian Daboll. It might not be so much of the fact that we're confident we can beat the Vikings, but we're really confident that Brian Daboll can lead this team and pull off some sort of upset victory.
So it's only been a few weeks, but what would you say are the biggest differences from now to then? I know you already mentioned some injuries. Tell us anything else that makes a big difference.
Yeah, 2 key difference makers on the defensive side of the ball, Xavier McKinney and Dory Jackson. Now, Xavier McKinney made his return in Week 17 when the Giants clinched the postseason by beating the Indianapolis Colts. He was on injured reserve for several weeks. He broke his hand ATVing in Cabo during the bye week, so he was a big loss for the defense, but he came back in, made an instant impact against the Colts, almost had an interception. Probably would have had the interception if he was able to wear gloves on both of his hands, but he has a club on one of them. But now, Dory Jackson hopefully re-entering the lineup, that's probably the biggest addition that the Giants could get going into this game against Justin Jefferson and the Vikings, because without Jackson on the field in Week 16, we saw Justin Jefferson get open. We saw him burn our backup cornerbacks on several occasions, and I think that some of those plays that Jefferson made probably don't happen with a Dory Jackson on the field. I think that he's going to be a huge difference maker, but it's not guaranteed that he plays. He's trending towards playing, but he's been out for weeks with a knee injury. And so we're hoping that this is a week he finally makes his return, and we're assuming that it is because he has been beginning to practice, but it's still not guaranteed. So there is a chance he misses this matchup.
Well, I know you got one for him. Let me ask him one quick thing.
Sure.
Dory Jackson was the big talker going in the last Vikings game as far as, is he going to play? Is he going to play? Is he that good, or is he just better than what's out there?
I think it's kind of a mix of both. If I had to lean one way, it's probably better than what's out there. But Dory Jackson was a solid CB1. He's not an elite shutdown cornerback by any means. And I'm not saying that him being in the lineup is going to prevent Justin Jefferson from going for 150 yards, but he'll make a couple of key plays out there that makes a big difference. The main thing with Dory Jackson that the Giants are missing is just having someone on the boundary that can play press coverage, because that's what Wink Martindale, the defensive coordinator, loves to do. He likes to play a lot of single high safety, man coverage, all out blitzes. That's what he really loves to do. But the Giants have had to scale that back, revert to some cover two and some double high safeties over the past few weeks, because they haven't had that press man cornerback on the outside to jam a receiver. So we've seen a lot of opportunities for pass rushers nearly getting to the quarterback, but just not quite there because there's a quick route open. And that's because they're missing that jammy cornerback on the outside to prevent a receiver. So that's kind of the difference with Dory Jackson. It's not even that he is so good. He is a good player, don't get me wrong, but it's the fact that he can do things that the other guys can't do that's been holding the defense back for weeks.
So it sounds like you guys are getting two guys back. Vikings may be without two guys on the O-line. Center Garrett Bradbury still has a bad back. And right tackle Brian O'Neill out for the season. Do you expect old Wink, you just mentioned him, to be setting the house more often than normal in this one?
Yeah, I think that Wink Martindale blitzes. I want to say he has the highest blitz percentage out of any defensive coordinator in the NFL this season. He's been sending blitzes, I want to say, around 45% of the time. So expect the Giants to bring the heat, especially against a battered offensive line like the Vikings have. But with your center out of the lineup, expect Dexter Lawrence to be the focal point. He has been tremendous for the Giants this year. Interior defensive lineman, 4th year of his career. He's on his way to a big contract this offseason. And I think that he is probably the number one player to key in on for the Giants defense on the line, at least, because he's just been tremendous. He's on his way probably to an all-pro selection this season. So watch out for a combination of Dexter Lawrence from the interior with Azeez Ojulari, if he's healthy enough to play, and Kayvon Thibodeau on the edge. And that's probably the way that you're going to see the Vikings get attacked and probably beat a few times.
Yeah, Dexter going against our third-string center, who has only started one game in his NFL career at the position. So not
That's
great.
what I love to hear.
Gross.
It's not good.
Gross.
Sounds delicious.
Oh, God. Once again, we got Anthony from Fireside Giants. Hit up those links down in the descriptions. So you got a guy on your team, old Nick Gates, coming out talking about how you expected U.S. Bank to be louder and Minnesota's too nice, blah, blah, blah. Give us a little bit of material to get us fired up. And something tells me it's going to be a little bit louder this Sunday. But what's your take on that? Do you just want your guys to shut up, or do you kind of like it?
Now, that's a quote I actually missed. I haven't seen that one. But I will say Nick Gates is known for being a real trash talker. He's one of those guys that – so Nick Gates is actually a really cool story. He last season – well, okay, let's go back. 2018, I believe it was. He was an undrafted free agent, gets signed by the Giants, plays right tackle, plays pretty well in some, reserve fashion, moves to right guard, ends up becoming the starting center in his second year, then moves to left guard, breaks his leg like terribly against Washington last season. Like, it was career ending almost, and he almost lost his leg. But he comes back this year, works his way back into the lineup, and he's not the best player by any means. He's honestly not even a very good player at all, but he's just the best that the Giants have out there on the offensive line in the interior. So he goes out there, and pretty much his primary job is to just be Daniel Jones's bodyguard. So he's the big trash talker. He goes out there. He doesn't like the way a linebacker touches Daniel Jones. He's going to get in his face. He's going to cause a fight and a whole scrum on the field. So that's who Nick Gates is. So him saying something like that isn't surprising. He likes to get under the opponent's skin and really just be like the focal point for the Giants, even if he's not the best player on the field. But in terms of how loud US Bank Stadium is going to be, I'm expecting for it to be pretty rowdy. It was a Christmas Eve game. I'm sure a lot of people were at home with their families, and that's why it wasn't completely packed, if that's what Nick Gates is saying. But we've seen in the postseason before how loud Vikings fans could be. Skull chants go crazy. And so, yeah, I'm a little nervous going into this one. I think there could be some communication issues for the Giants as they relay the plays from the sideline.
Yeah, hopefully they put that quote up on the big screen there before the Giants take the field. That'd be fantastic. Oh. All right. So number one thing the Giants have to this weekend to get the win. What they got to do differently maybe from the first time?
Yeah, I think winning the turnover battle is probably the number one thing that comes to mind. Daniel Bellinger, he's a tight end for the Giants, a rookie who's been really solid for us, but he fumbled in that game, and that was pretty crucial. And then Daniel Jones was kind of picking apart the defense of the Vikings for the majority of that game, but then he threw that interception, and that was pretty damning. If he was able to keep the ball clean, which he has been able to for the majority of the season, if you don't know, Daniel Jones actually leads the NFL in lowest interception percentage this year with a 1.1%. bewildering stat considering where he was for his first 3 seasons. But if the Giants win the turnover battle for the majority of the season, when they've won those games. And that's really how they've done it, because they're not a high scoring offense. They don't have an abundance of talent. They're not going to go out there, drop 30 points on any given Sunday. So what the Giants need to do is control the clock, win the turnover battle, play a conservative brand of football, and win the game. So that is the difference maker. That's how the Giants win. They just keep the ball clean.
Well, the Vikings have been overly due for a offensive explosion. We're just hoping that it's waiting for the playoffs where they can put up 45 on you guys. But I got to ask you this. Kayvon Thibodeau, what's your take on him doing the snow angel next to a real in pain Nick Foles?
Yeah, that's a good description. That man was in real pain. Absolutely.
But doing snow angel.
I couldn't help but laugh when I saw it. Like, I felt bad, but I was like, it was like the longest sack celebration ever. It just felt like it would never end. I was like, oh my God, please stop doing what you're doing. But he just kept going. And then he doubled down on it with some comments in the press. And I think that there's, an argument on both sides. First of all, Kayvon Thibodeau did not see Nick Foles. He just kind of made the sack, immediately rolled over and did his ridiculous celebration.
Sure,
so he never
were hitting him.
I know, which is like, at some point you'd probably be like, what am I hitting right now? And stop. Yeah. But I don't know. I think that arguments on both sides. Listen, he didn't see that Foles was down and injured, so he was just having his fun. But probably going to the sideline and doing the sleeper afterwards is where he messed up. That's probably taken it a little bit too far. And again, I know he was referring to the Colts, putting the Colts to sleep, but even still, it's just need a little bit better situational awareness there.
Are you expecting any new wrinkles from the Giants in the playoffs, or pretty much the same old you've seen all year? They got something hidden in their back pocket?
Honestly, I am expecting something different, because for the majority of the season, the Giants had a very run-first approach, and they were very patient to let loose Daniel Jones. But over the past 3 to 4 weeks, they've really let him loose. They turned him loose primarily starting against the Vikings in Week 16. They let him just start slinging the ball. And then that next week against the Colts to clinch the postseason berth, Daniel Jones has really become the focal point of this offense over Saquon Barkley. And I expect them to dial up a few deep shots for him. They found a couple deep shots against the Vikings. There was one down the right sideline to Isaiah Hodgins, another one to Richie James as well. So I think that the Giants are going to be a little bit more aggressive in their passing approach this week, because it's now or never. And Daniel Jones is playing the best football of his career, so they might as well just trust him with the offense and let him sling it.
Yeah, the Vikings defense is a great one to unleash your quarterback against. Yeah. So expectations for Sunday, how do you see this thing shaking out?
I think it's going to be another close one, as most Vikings games are and most Giants games are. So, I could totally see it coming down to a field goal again. I'm just hoping that this time it's Graham Gano booting it through the uprights.
There you go, Anthony Rivardo. Greatly appreciate it, man. Hit up his links down in the description. Go give him a sub. Go give him a little crap in the comments, while the Vikings will hopefully dominate them on Sunday. But appreciate it, man. Good luck on Sunday.
Thanks, man. Yep, thanks for having me on, guys.
Yep, take her easy.